there's something so special and so significant about that holiday meal. Um, turkey's not a super expensive meat. We're not providing steak or lobster, right?
Right.
But it's traditional, right? And it's about sitting around the table with your family. It's about cooking that meal for your family and hosting them. And being able to do that is so important to people, whether you can
Well,
afford it or not.
and it's just bringing all that love together.
Hmm.
Food is love, and it can bring these families together, and they're together, and these brothers are fighting, but then after the meal they have a talk, and now, food does wonderful
Hmm.
things.
Welcome back to 50 Faces of Feeding South Dakota. We're in November and we're just kicking off the month where Feeding South Dakota has some really big things happening this month. It's the holiday season. We know there are a lot of people looking for foods, especially around the holiday, because it's just so special to sit around a table with your family. And when there's not an opportunity to buy the groceries for that special holiday meal, it can add a lot of additional stress to people. So today we are having conversation with Greg Sands, and we're going to focus a little bit on our Thanksgiving meal giveaway that's coming up later this month, and how the partnership with Sands Wall Systems and Greg himself got started. So Greg, thanks for coming today.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Good. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Give our listeners a little bit of a background on who you are.
I'm Greg Sands from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm the founder of Sands Wall Systems. My wife and I started that company 31 years ago. I'm a community leader and help focus on all things addiction, mental health, and feeding people. I am a philanthropist, and we give to nonprofits to help feed with addiction and mental health. My wife and I have been together for 33 years, and our company, Sands Wall Systems, is doing well. We converted to ESOP in October 1st of 23, and that's who I am.
A lot going on, and you mentioned you're a community leader. You're involved in quite a bit of things. You're on the South Dakota Community Foundation board.
Yep.
What other kind of things are you involved in?
Well, I'm working with some large nonprofit organizations to bring some large fundraising events to our community. And I'm involved very heavily with Feeding South Dakota, as you know. And I am very involved with Angela Kenneke's mission and with Emily's Hope over there. Uh, Pam spends a lot of time at the St. Francis House, and it's really just one thing after another.
Mm-hmm.
And um, our community is struggling now. We all these 501s have lost money over the last 6 months, and I think the community leaders need to, step up and help, and they are.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about living in Sioux Falls is there's a lot of great community leaders that are always stepping up and doing the next right thing. And, those guys were there before me and doing it. And now I'm doing it, and someone hopefully comes behind me. But I had so many great examples around me of my peers, and I saw what they were doing, and uh, the length that they are getting out of their contributions. And that's what I love about my relationship with you guys is we use the donations that we give to monetize a fundraising effort to get more money and feed more people.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil, but let's start with. I mean, your involvement that you just talked through is really heavily in the addiction and mental health arena, and that's for good reason.
Yeah.
You've shared often about your own personal story. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your history and why supporting those types of efforts are important to you?
Sure. So in 1980, the middle of the 1980s, I was arrested in '89 for conspiracy to possess with the intent to distribute cocaine. I was guilty. I was my best customer. I was a very unsuccessful drug dealer because it's like an alcoholic owning a bar.
Mm.
You know, he's drinking everything. He doesn't have, and so it was like that. And my being arrested saved my life. There's no confusion that I needed to go be on a stainless steel toilet for a while, and that really wakes you up. And so after I was incarcerated, I got to Sioux Falls, and it was hard for me to even get here. I had to do a lot of paperwork when I was incarcerated to make this happen. And then Dave Johnson over at the Glory House accepted me the second time. And I went in there and had the $50 the government gave me, and I went to work, and I met my wife at AA, and we started a life together. She was cutting hair. I was a drywall guy for another drywaller, and then quickly we started Sands. Within 3 or 4 years, we started Sands Drywall, and then it really exploded because I believe of simply treating people the way I want to be treated, and predict, both customers and employees. And in the beginning, it was very hard because, we didn't have all A-level employees. We didn't have all A-level customers. So there was a lot more fires to put out. Today, we have very, very good employees and very, very good customers. So some of the minutia I had to go through in the first 10 years, that's old history. And life's a lot better for Greg today because of it. And I'm just, retired now. I've exited the ESOP, and I'm still chairman of the board for 10 years. And I still work some, with my guys. I had lunch with them yesterday, and our team is all on the same page, and that's what I love. But I know that you want to get into that later, so I'll leave that for later.
Well, I asked you to share a little bit about your background because, we often in our work here at Feeding South Dakota, in our programs, and particularly our mobile food distributions, we'll hear a lot from people saying, I noticed this really nice car in your line and they don't need food. Or, I know that family and they don't need food. But when it comes to things like addiction and mental health issues, those are often a silent disease. It's something people can struggle with without others even knowing that it's happening. And, you talked a little bit about the stress of different things, but, when that's your focus, when that addiction is your focus, and you can't move past that, you need help with other things, and food can often be one of them. And so we like to come into it as Feeding South Dakota with the mindset of, if somebody's here because they need food, they need food. We don't know their situation. We don't claim to know their situation, but we know they need help, and that's what we're here for. That's our mission. So, as somebody who's had that experience and lived that in their life, what would you want people to know about people who are going through that type of thing and reaching out?
Well, first of all, addiction knows no face. It's not prejudiced against anybody. The color of your skin, how much or how little you have is completely irrelevant. Addiction will take you to your knees. And the guy you see in line in a nice car getting a turkey, he's in that line because he needs the turkey. Otherwise, he wouldn't sit in that line because he's there for however long it takes. It's winter time. And maybe he has a nice car, and maybe it's parked in front of a trailer house that he can hardly afford. So as far as Feeding South Dakota, giving food to everyone, certainly that's the right call. And it's kind of like if I would give money to a homeless person and he would choose to drink with that versus feeding himself, I still feel I've done the right thing. I gave them money for the right reason. And if they do something wrong with it, that's on them, not on us.
Yeah, that's good insight. So you went from this life of addiction to this time in prison, and really had this epiphany and had this opportunity to turn your life around. And you talked a little bit about how you got to Sioux Falls and some of those you know little things and meeting your wife. But at some point, you started a business. Tell us a little bit about how you got that started. I mean, you're coming. You said you're coming out of prison with $50, and you've got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
How do you decide the direction to go and get started with running your own business?
Well, I was court ordered to go to AA meetings, and I was in the Glory House, and I went across the street to the AA meetings, and I had a job during the day doing drywall work, and I just prayed for more work because I needed more money, and I met a guy named Joe Friday. And I know that Joe would not be bothered by me breaking his anonymity. He is a wonderful man. I believe he has since passed. I'm not sure. I hope I didn't speak out of school here. But Joe Friday gave Greg a bunch of work. And so Greg could work 20 hours a day. Joe had all these little remodels he was doing. And and I started making some money there. And then I had been working for some guys for 3 months. They weren't treating me right. And I ended up partnering up with a guy, and we did Central Plains Clinic over on the Avera campus. The two of us taped most of it by ourselves. And after that, we started a partnership, which we had for 3 or 4 years. And then it was a great partnership. We made good money. We both worked very hard. And then we split up. I wanted to start a company. He didn't. And then I started Sands, and I hired 2 guys, and then I hired 10 guys, and then 20, and then 40, 60, 80, 100, 200, 300. And now, we're doing good. The market is soft because of the tariffs and because of the undecisiveness in the market. A lot of private sector investors have a wait and see attitude. So we're working through it. And fortunately, in the Sioux Falls market, your name and your reputation mean something here. And so we have a lot of great customers here that we have built relationships with, that took 20 or 30 years to get where we're at today. And we believe those relationships will sustain us through this recession or whatever it is that is coming towards us.
And although you started here in Sioux Falls, you have it's a statewide presence, right? You have a location in Rapid City, 5 locations,
5 states.
5 states. 5 states.
But that's
okay.
That's different than we have 3 locations.
Okay.
Sioux Falls, Rapid City, Dickinson.
Okay.
And we may open other locations. We may not. I was talking to one of my presidents yesterday about it. But for a existing customer, like say we're doing a car dealership for David Billion.
Okay.
And he wants to build it in Bend, Oregon. We're going to Bend, Oregon.
You're going.
And the reason for that is because we know the contractor, we know the owner, we know how we're going to be treated. So we can go 3,000 miles away for somebody we know. We'll never go there for someone we don't know. But we're bidding jobs every week in South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska. We're bidding job constantly in 4 or 5 states.
In lots of places. So, you talked about a couple guys to 10 guys to now 100 and having this team. And drywalling it's physical work. It's, I have 2 young sons, and I've always said, get into a trade that can't be replaced by a computer. And drywalling is
have
that
them come
type.
out and see us.
Well, but it can be a lot for somebody, and culture within that organization is important. And you've talked about I know being involved in communities is important to you and giving back to those communities. How did you incorporate that into your culture with Sands Drywall?
Well, that's a great question, because it's so important that a leader of an organization create a culture that is transferable to the leaders that are coming up behind them. And to do that, the culture has to be ingrained. And it only gets ingrained is if the leader is all in, you know, and so it got ingrained because they know I'm all in, and then they also saw all the things that Sands Wall Systems or the Greg and Pam Sands Foundation or whatever tag you want to put on it. They all saw all the stuff that we were doing, and then we started giving them the opportunity to come to Feeding South Dakota and help box the turkeys up every year. And that has ballooned into an annual event for my company. And after the ESOP, I think we had the biggest crowd here ever, packing boxes, and they love it. And they take a picture and they put it in our company newsletter. And when they go by a building and they see that the Sands Foundation or they see that Sands was involved with it, be it Sands Wall Systems or Greg and Pam, they know that they had something to do with it. And also, Sands Wall Systems itself is now its own entity that is helping its own people, because when I exited the company, one of the things I did was structure the philanthropic component right into our bylaws. So Sands will be given back to this community until Sands isn't here. And the great thing is everyone loves it. There's no one that says, "Oh, we shouldn't give these percentages away." I haven't heard that, and so I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, it's that feel-good feeling of giving back to the community in a variety of ways. So you mentioned boxing the turkeys, and we've talked about the turkeys a couple times, but you have been a great supporter of our annual Thanksgiving meal distribution. And this year there will be 6,000 meals given away across the state. In Sioux Falls and Rapid City is where it originated and got started, and where we talk about the long lines. But we have rural partners of Feeding South Dakota that will be receiving those meals to give out in their communities. Can you take us back to how that partnership started? Like, how does Greg Sands say, "Ooh, let's do turkeys every Thanksgiving"?
Yeah. Well, it really started, my wanting to feed people started as a child. I was living in the south side of Minneapolis with my mother and my brother, and a kid broke into our house and stole these barbecued ribs my mom made, and that Greg liked. And I was so upset. And my mom said, "Well, Greggy, if they stole the food from us, they needed the food worse than we did."
And that was all they stole. They came in and stole the ribs.
They came in and stole
Wow.
That's all I remember them stealing.
Wow.
Because that would be all I was focused on was the ribs.
Sure.
You
wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have cared about the
It
green
would have mattered.
beans. No. And so when that happened in my life, I was a young boy, but I never forgot it. And the Feeding South Dakota started, my partnership with you guys started on a Thursday. I was watching TV, and the next Thursday was Thanksgiving, and the food pantry at that time had 0 turkeys, and they needed 400.
Okay.
And they were a week away, and they had 0. So that weekend, I emailed all the guys that are always hitting me up for money and hit them up for turkeys. And I had gotten a hold of, I don't know, Hy-Vee or somebody, and said, "How much per bird?" And I did all the math, and I would email them, you can buy 50, you can buy 50, you can buy 50, or 20. And Monday I had 500 turkeys for you guys.
Wow.
And that was the start of it. And then I had done an interview for Mayo Clinic. They had came here and did an interview on me for a program I'm involved with over there for addiction. And when they were here, it was right around the time that we were giving away all these turkeys. And so they saw that too, and they were just so impressed with all of that. And it's a great thing. I'm so proud of that we do it. And I'm so proud that my company leans into it like they do, and they come and do that. And the picture every year, you can just tell, and they're bringing their children, so the children can uh, have the have that feeling
Yeah.
of being of service to God and others.
A lot like what you talked about building culture into the company. It's that demonstrating, that giving back, that even as a family we can do in various ways. And the Thanksgiving meal giveaway, I've been in Rapid City for it. I've been in Sioux Falls for it. Is very much I don't want to say kid friendly, but we have kids come with parents, and having them help load that food into the vehicles. So for people who aren't familiar with it, we give away about 1,500 meals in each Rapid City and Sioux Falls. And so it went from turkey to now all the fixings you would need to make a meal at home. The turkey, the green beans, the potatoes, the whole stuffing, the whole thing, right? And it's boxed up, and people get in line. And every year I try to talk to the first person in line, no matter what location I'm at, just to find out how long have they been there, and why was that necessary for them. And it's humbling.
Yeah.
It's I've often like walked away from gathering that story and called my husband and said, I'm not feeling sorry for people. Like this isn't a pity thing because it's so emotional. It's sad that this is what our country is like. That you hear somebody say, I don't have custody of my girls. My sister has them, but I get to have them for Thanksgiving. And I want to make sure I can make a meal for them. And if I couldn't get it here today, I couldn't get it at all. So I've been in line since 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Or, things are just hard. We live in a trailer park, and the rent changed. It used to be all inclusive. Now they've split out the water and the electricity. And so it's more expensive, and we just can't afford everything. And my husband's home right now fixing the holes in the floor because winter's coming, and it's just hard to imagine that that's how people are living their life. And for me, that's the humbling part, is to see that these people need this food, and that this holiday and having this food on this holiday is so important to them that they're going to sit in line for 16 hours, 12 hours. They're going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning because there's so many people that need it. They want to make sure they can get it. And then at the same time, the community is rallying. You've got this great support from all these volunteers, because it takes traffic control. We run a couple of lines, and we try to get vehicles through quickly. And so there's just so many volunteers that come out. And sometimes there's turkey headbands,
Yeah.
Or volunteers dressed as turkeys.
I think that's us.
Yeah. So we try to make it a festive opportunity for people, because it can be so heavy.
Yeah.
It can be a lot. And I think about you talking about, hey, I just saw the news and I went and gathered 500 turkeys, to today, what you're supporting is this distribution across the state.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say is, during that interview with the reporters from Mayo,
Yeah.
I committed in that interview to feeding turkeys to everyone in South Dakota that needed them within X amount of years. And I did not hit that date, but I have hit the date now.
And now you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
That's where I was going, was what did you envision? What did you hope would come out of that? And clearly you hoped to go from this amount that seems like a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean,
500 turkeys,
Yeah.
that's like, whew, how are we going to make that happen, right? To 6,000 meals today.
Yeah.
Did you ever think it would get this big?
I did.
You did.
I
Good.
did. And I thought it would happen faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason it didn't is probably my fault. I can't blame Feeding South Dakota, so it has to be my fault. I'm just kind of joking. It's no one's fault. I am so proud of what we have accomplished here.
There's so much, there's so many components to it. And to your point, turkeys is one thing. But, I mean, we've talked in the podcast with our food purchasing team and our inventory manager about all the logistics of ways that we receive food. But honestly, we will have some of the Thanksgiving meal items in our warehouse as early as April, because we're getting the best pricing on it.
Sure.
And it really is about what can we do as an organization to get the most with the dollars, while also, making sure that we have enough, and that we're not bringing it in at the last minute, because there's a whole process, right, of being able to put it all together. And yeah, I think you should be really proud of where it's at today.
Yeah.
This is the second year that we've offered it into communities outside of Sioux Falls and Rapid City,
Yep.
and that came from feedback of not everybody can get there,
Yep.
and so we have to hear that. We have to listen to that and say, you know what, they're right. And we'll have people drive from Madison or, Beersford, or, they'll come in from a couple miles away because this is their best opportunity to get a meal. And so I think it's going to continue to evolve and grow. I would hope it would go backwards, that we would need less and less. But to your point, in this current, where we sit today, especially this year, we actually increased the number that will be going to Rapid City because last year there wasn't enough, and we had people coming in,
And we
and
didn't have food?
we had given all the meals away.
Yeah.
And so we had people coming in, and we were like, well, we have this, we can give you, here's some potatoes, and here's some, some things that we still had that we could give people, but it wasn't the full meal because we just didn't anticipate that need. That we went from having excess the year before to not having enough the next year. And so this year we've reallocated, we've looked at it and said, okay, where do we need to put these resources to make sure we can serve the most people with these meals? And I just think that there's something so special and so significant about that holiday meal. Turkey's not a super expensive meat. We're not providing steak or lobster, right?
Right.
But it's traditional, right? And it's about sitting around the table with your family. It's about cooking that meal for your family and hosting them. And being able to do that is so important to people, whether you can afford it or not.
And it's just bringing all that love together. Food is love, and it can bring these families together, and they're together, and these brothers are fighting, but then after the meal they have a talk, and now food does wonderful things. And I am a big believer in feeding people. People that work for me are getting fed. And if I walk on a job site, I'm buying the whole crew lunch every
Right.
time. And I love food, and I love cooking, and I love Feeding South Dakota. You guys are a great organization that spends our money wisely and with only one focus-driven mission, and that's why I'm sitting here.
So you mentioned it earlier, and we didn't get into it, but the gift that you give every year to support this Thanksgiving meal giveaway becomes a match. And it's something that we advertise broadly and widely so that when people give a gift during that match period, it doubles the impact. It helps those dollars go further. It helps us get more out to people. And as a philanthropist, that really is maximizing your dollar.
I love that. Yeah, I love being able to be the lead person to create an event that has much more power than just me by myself, and all of these things I've done in our community, and there's, it's been a lot of them, but every time I partnered with great organizations to make it happen. I am surrounded by greatness, and I truly am. That's why my company is successful. That's why I'm surrounded by Feeding South Dakota, and you guys are excellent, and that's why we're successful. And other endeavors that I've done in the community, a lot of it has to do with putting up buildings and treatment centers and housing and stuff like that. But none of those endeavors would have came to fruition if I wasn't surrounded by great partners. And I say it all the time. I'm surrounded by very, very, very special people, and I believe, that they were chosen, and because everything that is happening in my life today is so far beyond my wildest dream. When I was laying in that cell, what my dream was to get clean for 12 months and 33 years.
Wow.
To speak to kids and convicts about drug use, I've spoken to tens of thousands of them. And it was to have 4 or 5 employees with the Sands drywall jacket on. And we have exceeded that number.
You have.
And so all my dreams that I had as I was laying there hopeless came true 100 times over. And the person that's sitting there hopeless in their life today that thinks that they can't change is wrong. And they just need to put one foot in front of the other, go and get help. I get help. I don't have any problem saying I need help with this, this, or that. I go and get it. I needed help to quit smoking. I went to a smoking cessation clinic. When I semi-retired, or whatever this is, whatever you call this, what I'm doing, it sent me into a tailspin because for 25 years, I slept with one foot on the ground.
Right.
I was up and in the office at 7 every day, and then that stopped. And so I didn't know what to do. And I ended up in therapy over it because I was like a cat on a hot tin roof. And the guy said to me, yeah, Greg, I see guys like you in here all the time. And I went to this therapist for 3 or 4 months, and he helped me wind through it. And again, I went there because I needed help.
Right.
So I get help. And these people that are coming to us, they need help, and we're going to give them the help. And I love it.
And I think that is such a great takeaway, and a good way to kind of bring us to a close is that it's okay to ask for help. That we need as community to understand people need help, and that help can lead to success.
Yes.
And we often say food is a fundamental. And if you're hungry or you're wondering where your next meal has come from, you can't focus on getting well with mental health or addiction. You can't focus on finding a job because all you're worried about is how am I going to feed myself or how am I going to feed my family?
Yeah.
And so one of the greatest things that anybody can do is just understand that when somebody asks for help, they need help. And that can be a piece of the puzzle to help bring them into success. It could be a short-term goal, like 12 months.
Yeah.
That turned into 30-some years, right? But every organization like Feeding South Dakota that is providing services to people is part of the ultimate success of communities, the health of communities, the wellness of communities. And so it's important that we're there. It's important that we have the support and the people to come out and help us deliver these things in a way that's not judgmental, in a way that just, we need 400 turkeys. Somebody's going to find us 400 turkeys. Yeah. Because the work that we do is so important in that community.
And I think your point about your volunteers being non-judgmental, I think many people have walked that road themselves that work for me. And certainly my wife and I have. And we know what it's like to be broke and to get a box of food from a church, and I have no judgment. I have love, and I just could not be in a better spot in the world than right here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And we have so many good things here, and it's such a great, strong community. I see vicious competitors, very vicious competitors, team up to do things together that lift up our community.
Yep.
Okay. In the business world, they want to kill each other. In the community world, they want to help raise up the community.
Right.
And that's something special because not every community with those vicious competitors get together. And I see that in many sectors. I am proud to be a South Dakotan, and I'm very proud to be a part of the Sioux Falls business community.
Well, I think I can speak on behalf of Feeding South Dakota and the people we serve and our volunteers that we're grateful that you support this event because it is definitely something many families have come to count on and communities have come to count on. And it has to be very meaningful for you to see your team continue under an employee-owned umbrella to find value in that and continue to come and pack the boxes and serve the boxes and do all the things that helps them be a part of this great event. So
and they even dress up. They're the ones running around in the turkey costumes.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of them, and then it's just beautiful how they want to do it, and then their children are there too, learning to be of service to God and others, and it's just a win-win. And then the people that need the food, they need the food, and I am so grateful that God has put me in a position to be able to do this in my life, and I, you know, I really want Feeding South Dakota to be able to continue to do what they do and do more in the future, and I will be here for all of that.
Well, we're grateful for that.
And
we'll,
Pam will be here too.
good. You got to
Yeah.
have that,
Yeah.
behind every great man is an even greater woman, right?
That's very true. That's 100% true. So much.
Well, we'll share a little bit more about how people can support the match this month. Before we go, I have one question for you. If South Dakota were a fruit or a vegetable, what would it be and why? So what, like, is it an apple? Is it a potato? Maybe I'm giving you answers, but what would you guess?
Well, if South Dakota was a fruit or a vegetable, the best vegetable we all know is without a doubt South Dakota sweet corn. So South Dakota would be sweet corn.
All right. That's a good answer.
Okay.
Thanks for being here with us today and learning more about how our Thanksgiving meal distribution got its start and the importance of this event, not just in the community and to the people who are receiving it, but also to the people who are giving to it and supporting it. If you would like to support the Thanksgiving match this year, it's happening now through the end of November. You can head out to our website, feedingsouthdakota.org, where you'll find information on the giveaway itself, as well as how to give a gift this month and have it matched to support that event. Thanks for having us here today with 50 Faces of Feeding South Dakota.